Hey everyone, and thank you for watching another gear discussion video. As you saw, the unboxing was first, and now we're going to take time and talk about this instrument. The official name of this guitar is the Guild BT-258 Deluxe 8-string baritone. I had been in the market for a 7-string acoustic guitar for a couple of years now, and the main reason for that is I love a lot of late 90s, early 2000s hard rock bands, along the lines of Linkin Park, Breaking Benjamin, Trapped, Saliva, and a lot of those bands use 7-string guitars. So in order to do acoustic covers, gotta have that 7th string. Furthermore, the band Ghost also plays in drop tunings, and they play in open D. They're one of my favorite bands. So I was really in need of a guitar that could handle lower tunings without sounding like crap, as a standard 6-string does if you tune it down. And some of my other covers on YouTube, I attempted to tune to E flat and sometimes D. And E flat, it's not bad, but any lower than that, the strings are just too loose. It just doesn't sound good. And otherwise, I'm frequently doing key changes. I like a lot of female singers, and I usually have to bring the key down. And I'll also quote, Don Henley here, when him and Mike Campbell were coming up with the song Boys of Summer. The song was completely recorded and finished, and Don Henley, ascertained that if they did it just another half step higher, the vocal would be even better. And I couldn't agree more. There's definitely an optimal key to perform songs in, and that optimal key should definitely be searched for. You shouldn't just go with any key, or at least I don't think so. And through that search of finding the best key for a song, I think you can really improve the song and your conveyance of the lyrics, emotions, etc., and just your vocal performance. There's always the option to use capos and change the key that way, and that's a great useful tool, and I've often used that, but sometimes there's a quality that's lost by going higher up the neck, because obviously you're losing a lot of low range and some mid, and that chimey high sound that you get by capoing up the neck is useful sometimes. But this guitar allowed for, me to go in the opposite direction in terms of pitch, go lower rather than capoing up higher. While I was not able to find any brand new 7-string acoustic offerings, there are many used iterations, I think, by the brand Dean, something by Alvarez, a few by Ibanez, and I kept coming back to this kept popping up, and so I looked into it. And why I chose this was, I love unique guitars, preferably ones with more than just 6 strings. I've gotten jaded over the years, and the fact that this also had octave strings, being that I'm a 12-string guitar player by default, the fact that this had the lower baritone end plus the shimmering octave strings, this was definitely a no-brainer for me. But back to the 7-string question, why not just get a 7-string? This, while it has 8 strings, it's really a 6-string with 2 sets of octave strings. And as opposed to the 7-string, you can just play this and fret out chords exactly as you would if you had a standard 6-string. So that's the big advantage to this 8-string as opposed to a 7-string. I've never owned a 7-string, or actually never even played one, and I can't comment on how cumbersome it is to tackle the 7th string. But I can comment on how easy this is to play. As mentioned previously, there are 2 octave strings on this guitar, and you'll hear no complaints from me about that. That's one of the selling points that makes this guitar even cooler than it already is. But I have to wonder why throw 2 octave strings on a baritone guitar? Doesn't that defeat the purpose? If you want a lower end guitar, why throw in 2 higher strings? It's kind of strange, but thought about it, and my guess is that the higher strings are there so that even though you're going down to a low B tuning, those high strings compensate for those higher overtones and pitches that you might have got from a standard tuned non-baritone guitar. So that's just my guess. And via those 2 octave strings, you do retain some of the higher pitches, which is great. There are a few other manufacturers that offer an 8-string acoustic just like this one, and that includes Alvarez and Taylor. I've owned a Taylor in the past, and they don't impress me personally. And the Taylor model is like $5,000. The Alvarez model is reasonably priced, but I gotta admit, I don't know anything about Alvarez's. The ones I've played have been just average, whereas Guild and Takamine are my favorite acoustic guitars. So this is Chinese made, but it is really nice. I first got into Guild guitars from a guitar player from a Philly local indie group called Good Old War. His name is Dan Schwartz. I originally bought an iteration of this guitar from Sweetwater, and if you've watched any of my gear discussion videos lately, you'll know that I've had a lot of issues with them. And lo and behold, they sent me one of these that had a big ding in the headstock, among other issues. It just that shouldn't be found in a brand new instrument, let alone one that had a 55-point inspection, so they say. I can tell you right now, I've been using Sweetwater for long enough to know that 55-point inspection, that is bullshit. Excuse my language, but that's the truth. A friend of mine bought a Country Gentleman $3,000 guitar, had a few centimeters long nick right in the Bigsby. Don't buy that, guys. Don't buy that 55-point inspection. Anyway, so that one got returned promptly, and I actually found this one on Reverb, and it stood out to me because I hope that it shows up. It has this really cool swirly curved spruce grain, and I think it's pretty stunning. So had to go with this one. It was from a guitar store in New York State. The only upgrade that I have implemented at this point is the very obvious mirror pickguard design here. So it came with a tortoiseshell pickguard or pepperoni style pickguard, and I cannot stand that look. I don't think that dark red look looks good, but it's very historic and famous, I suppose. But if any guitar comes with that, it very promptly comes off. So there's a website called Axstream Creations, and they'll do custom dimension pickguards. So I had the guy over there named Nick. I sent him the stock pickguard and asked for 2 black in the same dimensions. And I like this mirror logo. It reminds me of the Everly Brothers, and it reminds me of 1970s and late 1960s Guild acoustics. And I don't know why Guild went away with this design. I think it's pretty cool and retro. I'll go over the cons of this guitar, the problems that it has. And as you guessed it, the nut slots, or just the nut height in general, is too high. Strings blow sharp when you're on mainly the 2nd and 3rd frets. And I gotta say, almost 80 or 90% of guitars that I buy have that issue, American made or foreign, but mainly the guitars that come from China, which this is Chinese made. So I'll have my local luthier just make a whole new nut. Usually what accompanies a bad nut is uneven frets, so I'll also have the frets recrowned, leveled, polished, that kind of thing. Really, the only other issue with this guitar is that it didn't come with a case whatsoever. And I understand Guild's campaign to keep the guitar, at a reasonable price. But every guitar needs to come with a case. Hands down. End of argument. Even if it needs to be another $100 more. I'm sick of seeing that, and I'm sick of dealing with it. Anyway, this case is an Alvarez case, an Alvarez Jumbo. Guild makes one similar, but I like this Alvarez case because it matches the aesthetic of the guitar more. That's really all I've got on this guitar. You'll see it in videos that I'm going to upload. I heard one online YouTube reviewer say that, when you play it, it sounds like your chords are coming out of the earth. I love that. I think it's funny and also true. This guitar is one of the coolest instruments, if not the coolest stringed instrument that I have. I look forward to having this for the rest of my life. I encourage anyone watching this to try a baritone, and especially an 8-string baritone if you ever get the chance to. It's just really cool. It brings you out of your rut. Songs were flowing out of me, covers were flowing out of me, cool changes. And yeah, couldn't recommend this one more. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.